It's Tuesday, June 14th.
From inside the WTOP newsroom, this is the DMV Download, brought to you by the men and women of Steamfitters Local 602. Get an estimate and learn more at steamfitters-602.org.
Today, hundreds of bedbound seniors still don't know where they'll be moved after an explosion and fire destroyed the medical facility where they live in Bowie. WTOP's John Domen heard the blast and went right to the scene.
Getting in a wheelchair itself is hard enough, and to evacuate these people when there's smoke in the building and things are on fire, it's a very complicated situation that they were taking really good care of.
And looking ahead to the Juneteenth weekend, a pair of lovers turned booksellers in D.C. tell us why they're choosing to celebrate their 20th anniversary with a street party in National Harbor.
We could have done it any other weekend, but we chose that one because of the significance. It was illegal for us to even read.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Cloherty.
And I'm Luke Garrett. More than 100 seniors had to evacuate today after an explosion and fire broke out early this morning at the Genesis-run Larkin Chase Center. Thankfully, no one was hurt.
But the explosion could be heard for miles and caused a portion of that building to collapse. WTOP's John Domen was there on the scene this morning. And John, you live near here. You actually heard this thing when it happened?
Yeah, I'm about 2 miles away from there, and it was shortly before 4 a.m. It sounded like one of those, like if a squirrel or something hits a power line the wrong way, and it might cause a transformer to explode and knock power out for 5 or 6 houses or whatever. It sounded like that had happened across the street.
And John, we heard from Prince George's County Deputy Fire Chief Tony Hughes about the destruction that this fire and explosion really made.
In the rear of the facility, which looks like the kitchen area, the back wall, the majority of the back wall was blown out. There were some dumpsters near that back wall area that were blown probably 20 to 30 feet from the building itself. So it did blow out the majority of the wall with the partial roof collapse as well.
So John, can you tell us more about, where this blast really happened?
So you've got the Larkin Chase Senior Center where a bunch of really sort of elderly, bedridden people live. It's right next to the Bowie Health Center, which is sort of like an urgent care type place. By the time I got there, it was just a lot of orderly busyness there. Everybody trying to sort of scramble around and take care of these people, because in a lot of cases, we're talking more than 100 people who in a lot of cases can't really move on their own. People that are pretty much stuck in a bed. Wow. I talked to one woman whose dad had stage 4 cancer and dementia. Getting in a wheelchair itself is hard enough. And to evacuate these people when there's smoke in the building and things are on fire, it was just a very complicated situation that they were taking really good care of.
And so, John, you went down there and you talked to people who were kind of waiting to hear about their loved ones. What did they say? What did they describe to you?
Well, so one woman I spoke with, her name is Pamela McKay. She lives nearby, and she just checked her mom into that facility only a week and a half ago. Her mom had been staying there for a week and a half. She liked it there. And one of the things she liked about it was that it was so close and convenient to her home and to her work. At most, it was only 15 minutes away if something ever happened to her mother that she needed to drop everything and go there. Now she doesn't know where her mom's going to go.
So now I'm in a position where I might have to drive, 30 miles away to get to her.
Nobody knows where anybody's going to go. They're trying to sort that out right now, but really any of the facilities that this company runs around the state are in play if there's some open beds. So, it could be something that's close by. There's a decent chance that she might have to go to Waldorf or Salisbury or Frederick, places that are far away from here, just to make a trip that used to be, 5-10 minutes for her. And there's a lot of uncertainty with that.
It sounds like it came down to the fact that, if you can have an explosion in the right place in a building, maybe that was the case. Did they talk about at all how they actually evacuated people? Because that must be terrifying for them. They're stuck in this building that's on fire.
Well, it has to be terrifying, and they have to be excruciatingly careful. And we don't know what caused this, whether the explosion came after the fire or anything like that. But some of these rooms were very close by, and there were relatives who told me that their loved ones had smoke in their room when they were being evacuated.
She said the room filled up with black smoke, and they couldn't get the bed out, so they just put her in whatever so she can get out of there.
It's one of those things where anytime you have an explosion in a fire like that in a place where more than 100 people can not get around very well, just the explosion itself in that kitchen, a massive brick wall was blown out. And granted, you're not going to have a huge allotment of people working at 3:45 in the morning.
Yeah.
But the fact that nobody in that kitchen got hurt is really amazing, much less patients who are in rooms that are filling up with smoke and can't evacuate on their own. It's pretty remarkable that nobody was hurt.
The machine she has to help her with her health is not functioning because it needs electricity. So I don't know if she's getting all her meds, but I'm just glad she's alive.
So obviously they can't live there now. Did they say, is this a Red Cross situation where they're stepping in to help, or did they say what they're going to be able to do for these residents?
So the Larkin Chase facility, the owner of that group, is working to set up new accommodations for all of those who live there.
I know that they've opened it up to statewide, so what happens if he's 4 hours away? That's a big concern with no family.
Granted, these are probably going to be nice facilities. At the same time, when you're used to having your parent 5 minutes away, and suddenly you have to drive an hour, much less, the gas prices, that's a whole separate thing to consider. But just being an hour and not being able to drop in after work, or, having to really budget a lot of time on the weekend, there's just a lot of anxiety and uncertainty surrounding this now, because this facility is not going to be open for a while.
Well, John, thanks so much for going out there and bringing this story to us.
And after the break, we talked to two Black small business owners about why they're celebrating 20 years of marriage at their bookstore this Juneteenth. If you want to save money and grow profits on your next commercial, heating, cooling, HVAC, or refrigeration project, go with the men and women of Steamfitters Local 602. You can trust the experience of its workforce, members who have expertise in heating, air conditioning, refrigeration, and process piping to deliver work that's on time and on budget. For a partner you can trust who's mutually focused on your bottom line and to schedule, contact Steamfitters Local 602 at steamfitters-602.org. That's steamfitters-602.org. Steamfitters Local 602, changing lives.
Thanks for listening to the DMV Download. If you like the podcast, head to our show page, give us a rating, and leave a review.
We read all of them and use as suggestions to improve this show that we're so proud of. It also helps other listeners find this, our region's only local daily news podcast.
Thanks for making us a part of your day. Many of us are looking forward to the long weekend to honor Juneteenth, which of course became a federal holiday this last year, and two business owners in Congress Heights who just happened to be married are celebrating the holiday in a very special way.
Derrick and Ramunda Young own Mahogany Books, and they're celebrating their 20th anniversary by renewing their vows with a street ceremony outside their National Harbor location. They're joining us now from inside their bookstore. We're hearing all the customers and stuff behind them. Guys, first of all, thank you for joining us, and happy anniversary to start with.
Thank you so much. We're so excited.
We appreciate it.
Tell us why you're choosing to celebrate so publicly with customers on the street, because we realize there's a greater meaning behind this than just a party.
Absolutely. For many, many years, enslaved people were not allowed to marry, right? It was not a thing. But it was always important to our communities to show marriage, to show that we were connected to each other. And so for us, our wedding happens to fall on June 15th anyway. It's our 20th anniversary. So June 15th falls in the middle of the week. So the 18th was perfect. And we could have done it any other weekend, but we chose that one because of the significance of what it means. Here we are in a bookstore where even we could not, it was illegal for us to even read. So we've kind of defied both of those. We own a bookstore, so we're free to read, but then we're also free to marry who we want to marry. And so to celebrate it in a very public way, in a very real way, this amazing joy, this joy that we have, we can do it now in front of the community and have them join us and celebrate with us.
And when community members, go on Saturday at the National Harbor to this event, what can they expect?
Absolutely. So our vow ceremony is at 11 a.m. So we're going to renew our vows right outside of our store here at National Harbor. But then we have three dynamic authors. At 1 p.m., we have NBA star Eton Thomas, who lives here locally, who's signing his book. At 3 p.m., we have a special candle signing and book signing with CNN White House correspondent for the Griot, April Ryan. And then at 5 o'clock, we have New York Times bestselling author Danielle Clayton. So 1, 3, 5 is when we have the authors scheduled. So we want people to come out, have a great time, celebrate, commemorate this moment, rather, of Juneteenth, and do it as a community.
Very cool. And tell us about your bookstore, Mahogany Books. It's obviously been tough to keep a small business open for anybody throughout this pandemic. You obviously have had success with 2 locations. What experience do readers get when they enter your bookstore?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's about community. We really pride ourselves on focusing on community, culture, and conversations. So when people come into the store, it's about them, number one, being able to see themselves, feeling empowered, feeling embraced, and then being able to engage with other customers, with the booksellers, and just dialogue about anything, just relaxing, enjoying themselves. We now offer coffee here at National Harbor. So it's about the experience of being together, having conversations, and feeling embraced in our culture and community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now moving, to y'all's story. This is an anniversary celebration. So, take us back to that day in 2002 when you guys first said I do, and how your relationship and this bookstore all kind of folds together.
So we met on he knows the story. Well, of course he knows the story. He was there, but he always gives this funny face, I should say. I love it. But we met actually on a dance floor at a nightclub here in DC. About 21 years ago, 21 and a half
so you guys have moves, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah,
got
for sure.
Good moves.
For sure.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we still dance to this day, even at home. But we met on the dance floor at a nightclub and just been dancing ever since. But it was something we really connected with in dance. We both love old school hip hop, and so that night we just did all these little fun battle dances on the dance floor and have been together since. But then fast forward to our wedding day, it was something, really special to us to have all our family and friends. I'm from Oklahoma, so to have a big busload of family come in, literally a charter bus come into the DC area just to celebrate with us. It was just something very meaningful that people really wanted to be there and celebrate with us. So it was important.
That's cool. And as we mark this holiday, which many of us are observing for the first time, given that in 2021 people were at home, how do you think members of our community should honor the reason for this holiday? A lot of times people, go to the beach or go to the pool or whatever, but I think it's sort of important to have like a touchstone with what the day means, right?
Well, I think what it really comes down to is freedom for everybody. That's what this day is about, is recognizing our own personhood, our own agency, and being able to celebrate freedom for every person. So for us, we enjoy doing community service. We enjoy reading. Because again, it was those type of things that people fought so hard to provide us opportunity to do. So on this day, to be here in a bookstore, to sit down and read books and have conversations and embrace each other, to me is the important aspect of what that Emancipation Day means for Black folk.
Yeah, and I think too, because we're here at a bookstore, a lot of businesses will be open, a lot of Black-owned businesses. So it's an amazing opportunity to step out and say, hey, I want to support businesses that I may not have ever patronized before. I never shopped there before. And so to do it on this day is very meaningful and helpful for those businesses who may not have had that type of customer to come in and become a lifelong customer. I think there's a couple of things at play. So you don't want to be just performative to do it one time, but to say, I'm going to seek out this business and come out and patronize them and support them even in the future. So it's a great opportunity to become aware of those small entrepreneurs in your business, in your community.
And just to, wrap up here, we've been talking about love, we've been talking about freedom, we've been talking about, how books and reading really play into that. And I'd love to ask you all, as owners of a bookstore, how does reading and books really enhance our knowledge, our experience, and really community?
Well, I think it comes down to, number one, it opens up that window where you might have had those blinds turned down and unable to see the broader world. When you open a book, you're able to now see someone else's experience, someone else's worldview, and just so that you can better empathize with them. It may not mean you agree with them, which is totally fine, but to understand and empathize with that person, to allow them their own agency, is what it's about. So that's why we sell books. That's why we encourage people to read and to be able to read, especially these Black books, from here on out, is really, really important to us.
Your story is so inspirational. And really, it's your relationship and your entrepreneurship is really representative of how far we've come. Ramunda and Derrick Young, who own Mahogany Books, having an event this Saturday. We hope you go down there. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
And before we go, I wanted to share a good little, party idea that I happened upon this weekend.
Wait, what do you mean a party idea?
I
could throw this party?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
All right.
I was having some people over this weekend, and I was thinking, how do I make this a good party? Make it a little creative. So yeah. I looked up my favorite movie. Well, not really my favorite, but a solid movie, Shrek. The 2001 fantastic cartoon movie.
Yeah.
And I printed out the script, and
you printed out the entire script?
Yeah. Screenplay is online, and I don't know if it's legal or not.
Where is this going? Oh my goodness.
But we all, I handed out all the scripts, and then we just recreated the entire Shrek movie at the party. I was kind of nervous. I was like, there's a lot of buy-in here. You really have to be behind it. But thankfully, everyone loved it. I think it's just my generation. I don't know. I think we grew up with Shrek. There's been like 5 Shrek movies, I think, at this point.
I have a lot of questions. Did they know that they were going to be reading Shrek, the movie, when they showed up to the party?
Yes, they did. That would be a lot to just throw upon some people. Some people did
Hope
dress
you like
up.
Shrek.
Yeah, and it was solid.
They dressed up?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
so you gave people parts and everything?
It was a theme. It was a whole theme, and it
I
was
love
great.
it.
But anyway, I was just like, wow, if you have a group of people and they all love a certain movie, playing it out is really fun.
Did you do the voices?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had the voices. Shrek's voice is really tough because it's like Scottish, but it's also kind of like quieter. And it was good.
How do you know that?
Well, I played Shrek.
It is.
That's why. Yeah, that's
There
why
it
I know.
is.
Anyway, it's a great time. Good little idea for, if
Luke, you're not getting out of this that easily. How did you dress up as Shrek?
So there's this hat. It's a knitted hat. It's actually really great. I think I'll wear it around over the winter, if I go like skiing or something.
Yeah.
And it just kind of goes over your head and it has little Shrek ears. It was pretty cool.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, a little silly, but it was
that movie.
It was pretty fun.
I like the donkey in that movie. Popular choice, I know, but
yeah, no, the script is hilarious. I mean, I could barely read through that thing without cracking up laughing. Kudos to all those writers. It was fantastic.
I like it. It's kind of like a murder mystery idea, but different take.
A little more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially if everyone knows
one
the
does.
movie. Except Lord Farquaad. Lord Farquaad does die at the end. The dragon eats him. Spoiler. That'll do it for us today. Thanks for joining us on the DMV Download. We're sponsored by Steamfitters Local 602, and our managing editor is Craig Schwab, and our music is by Real World.
Leave us a review and some hot costume takes. Rate our show if you get the chance, and follow us on social media where we post content every day from behind the scenes. You can find out more about this podcast and become a VIP listener at dmvdownload.com.
The DMV Download is a product of WTOP News. Listen on 103.5 FM in the D.C. area, 107.7 FM in Virginia, 103.9 FM in Frederick, Maryland, online at WTOP.com, and on the WTOP News app. Have a great night, everyone.